Hello, future occupational therapists. Welcome to the lecture for Chapter 19 and the kickoff to this Leadership and Management course. I thought this would be a good chapter to start with because of its focus on these three key ingredients to both being an exceptional occupational therapist and being a good leader and manager: passion, energy, and quality. I asked you to think about what inspires you. Why did you decide to become an occupational therapist? At a minimum, I can guess that most of you are here because when you thought about doing a job for the rest of your life, you wanted something that would not only pay relatively well, but that you would also enjoy. And those are worthy goals. For me, as I approach the middle to later part of my career, I'm grateful for a secure and well-paying job that gives me a comfortable quality of life, a nice house, a nice car, the ability to have a nice steak dinner or get regular massages without worrying about where the money's coming from. For some of you, the initial inspiration started deeper than that, and for others, perhaps you've recognized deeper, more personal reasons along the way. The desire to feel like you contribute to something greater than yourself, the desire to touch another person's life in a meaningful way, or the desire to use your creativity and be challenged to solve real-world problems. That's what really keeps me going, seeing my clients progress to do things they weren't sure they would do again. Or as a professor, seeing the aha moment in your eyes when you master a new concept. So if you haven't already, I want you to really think about this. What is your inspiration as an occupational therapist? What is your passion? What energizes you to keep coming to class? Close your eyes and see it. If you need to, pause the lecture for a minute so you can really get immersed in your vision. Now, leadership and management. For some of you, those words energize you. Your vision of your future includes accepting management responsibility or maybe even owning your own practice. For others, those words scare you. In this class, everything we talk about in terms of leadership and management applies just as much to leading yourself and your client in the daily one-on-one patient care that you're going to provide as it does to leading a therapy department. So if you don't yet see yourself as a leader or manager, anytime we are using those words, think about what they mean for you, refining the inner confidence and skill to motivate yourself, motivate your classmates when you're doing a group project, or motivate your clients. Why leadership is important. The research shows that an employee's relationship with their supervisor is the most important factor in voluntary turnover, whether or not you stay at your job or move on, in employee engagement, meaning whether or not you really commit to doing the best job you can in that position, in morale, in work-related stress, in how you view the corporate culture of the organization you work in, and in your job performance. So if you were going to lead a department, you would want to do it well. But even if you aren't going to lead, you will have a leader. And as an employee, knowing what makes a good supervisor will help you make informed decisions about where you want to work and who you want to work with. And those being led have a role in giving feedback to their supervisors to help them improve their skills. Your textbook makes the point that leadership requires both skill and desire. Yes, some leadership skills are an innate sense of who you are as a person, but you can also develop and hone your weaknesses into strengths. But if you don't have desire, if you don't have passion, you'll just accept the status quo. And others around you will know it, your patients, your coworkers, your supervisors. It's also important to recognize that not all leaders are in an authority position. We all know that person who, by their level of enthusiasm and their skill at responding to people and situations in the moment, we trust them and we follow them, we want to be like them. Even in situations where our leadership is weak, or the work environment is less than ideal, having a coworker who exhibits these positive traits can make all the difference. So let's look at these three qualities: passion, energy, and quality in a little more detail. Passion is where influencing others begin. People need to know what we stand for. Not because we force them to have the same viewpoints as us, but because our face lights up when we talk about it. They have to see our passion in action. I think you probably know I'm passionate about occupational therapy, and I'm passionate about passing on my passion to you. I get excited about it. I want you to love this profession the way I love this profession. We can't be passionate about everything. We have to pick a few key issues that speak to us as an individual. So take a minute and think about it. What are you passionate about within the field of OT? Energy. Born out of passion, the combination of desire and tenacity to continue to produce results despite barriers. Your passion inspires not just others, but you. It energizes you. It makes you want to put time and effort into specific tasks and projects. Your book talks about people who are animators. They literally breathe life into their projects and organizations. In most projects, tasks, and yes, even patient care, you're going to encounter obstacles. It is your passion that gives you the energy to keep going, to push through it, to toe the line and sustain your efforts for the long haul. We can apply this to our patients too. Many of you talked about how when you tried to get your client to work on their standing endurance, they would only stand for a minute or so. But give them a meaningful occupation to do while standing. Take into consideration their passion, and boom, they had the energy to stand for 5 to 10 minutes without even realizing it. Quality, effective use of evidence-based practices, attention to detail, and personal monitoring of the work and work products. Passion and energy don't get us very far if we don't have high expectations about our outcomes. And these are just a few pointers on the factors that drive quality, no matter what the task is that we're trying to accomplish. Evidence-based practice. We can't just do what we think sounds good, or what's easy, or what's convenient. We have to look at what actually has been proven to work. We have to take the time to go to that evidence, understand it, and then seek to apply it in what we're doing, whether it's with our patients or trying to run a department. Attention to detail. Little things matter. If I provide the best evidence-based practice to my client, but I don't pay attention to things like starting and ending the session on time, my outcomes will suffer. The client may not be completely satisfied with the service that I provide. Even a high level of passion and energy won't overcome poor attention to details, especially those details that matter most to our clients or to our coworkers or to our supervisors. I can be the best therapist in the eyes of my client, but if I leave the clinic a mess that my coworkers have to come behind me and clean up, and I don't do my documentation on time, my relationship with my department suffers, and we don't get paid for the service I provided to the client. Personal monitoring of the work and work products. Looking at today's culture, I would say this is one of those things that's missing not only in healthcare, but in society in general. No one wants to take responsibility. Everyone passes the buck. To be effective as a leader or as a therapist, I need to pay attention and be accountable. I need to be looking around and noticing what's happening around me, and then take responsibility that if something's not right, I can make it better. If I notice that the patient's bed sheets are soiled, I start the process to make sure that it gets taken care of. That doesn't necessarily mean that I change the bed myself, because it's not my job description, but I communicate the need, I provide assistance as able, I let the patient see that it matters to me. If I make a mistake, I take accountability. I can't just say that it's my boss's job to double check my notes or the number of units I billed. I need to know where I'm most likely to make my errors and go back and verify that I've entered things correctly before I submit them. Your book points out, and I think from some of the previous examples, you're seeing the connection. Being an occupational therapist, just the therapist, doing the home visits for the home care company, or in the acute care unit, going up to the floor and treating that patient, or working in the school system with an individual child, OT is a service profession. And ultimately, so is leadership. A leader serves his or her followers. So even if you don't see yourself as a leader or manager yet, just by focusing on becoming a better therapist, you are positioning yourself to someday lead. Here are a few other characteristics of effective leaders that your book mentions, and we'll be touching on these again in future lectures. Effective leaders place their own needs after those they lead. They strive to reward and encourage others and offer the spotlight to others. Effective leadership requires good self-care. You need to make sure that you're getting enough sleep, good nutrition, and exercise so that you have the energy that you need to devote to your passions. And it requires self-awareness and self-management. You need to have an awareness of how others perceive and react to you, and then be able to effectively change characteristics that might be issues. Finally, this chapter offers a nice variety of day-to-day practices that you can focus on to develop your leadership skills. You can read them here on the screen. Plus, we will be doing an activity in class that lets you look at them in more detail. In class, we'll be doing some activities to help reinforce the concepts from this chapter. In addition to looking over Chapter 19 so you can be prepared, here's a little pre-session assignment that I would like you to complete. I want you to reflect on how you've seen positive leadership be portrayed, either by yourself or by a peer during some class or group assignments, by an instructor here in our program, or by one of your fieldwork educators. I want these examples to be from your role as an occupational therapy student. Write down at least 2 examples, giving enough detail to explore or explain concepts from this lecture. So what was it about that experience or that person that made it memorable? What specific practices of leadership were employed? So you might talk about how it's an example of passion or energy or quality or some of those other things from the previous 2 slides. So I want you to spend a few minutes doing that, and I want you to bring this to the next class session in order to earn credit. I will see you in class. Please make sure that in addition to your 2 written leadership examples, you bring your textbook.